joining us on the show is the Special Advisor on Sustainable Development Goals, that's the SDG, to the Governor of Lagos State, Dr. Oreoluwa. She will be speaking on SDG Drive of Lagos, how the state has performed to attain the 17 mandates ahead of 2030, the forthcoming SDG Summit in the state, amongst others. Welcome to the show, ma.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
It's nice having you.
Yes.
Nice to be back.
Yeah, welcome.
Since COVID.
Yes.
Oh,
wow.
Since that time. Yes.
That's a long time now.
Very long time.
So welcome back.
Thank you.
Now, everybody talks about SDG. Anywhere you go to SDG, we're doing Sustainable Development Goals.
Yes.
And sometimes, they just highlight just a few of the 17 goals. And I'd like to know what you've done so far with the 17 goals. But give us specifically some of the goals that you are really actually working on and some of the impacts you've made already. So we could start with, let's say, what have you done in terms of transportation?
Wow. Okay. So we could spend the entire show today talking about transportation in Lagos. And for us, I think the first thing is, what is SDG? Most people, for those who know, it's straightforward. But for a lot of people, and most people now, it's amorphous. It's not something tangible that they can put their hands on. And really, it comes to the history of, we'll take it back since about 2000, where it was the Millennium Development Goals, which was really about poverty eradication.
Yeah.
But then in 2015, says, look, if we're going to have better quality of life, it's not just about poverty. There are other things that need to come into it. The planet was in danger or is in danger with some of the practices, some of the way we live our lives daily is impacting negatively on the planet. There are issues with gender and equality. There are issues around sustainable cities, how we live in cities. Lifestyle issues. Water, our oceans are in peril. We're talking about microplastics. So the UN came together and said, look, we should have some goals. The MDGs were 8. The SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals now, are 17. And it's more rounded. It's about people, it's about the planet, and it's about prosperity. So it's about a better life for everybody. So for us in Lagos, this office was established, in 2019. So this is the second, in this administration, the second time. And it's about, for us, first, measuring. Where are we? And now bringing it into transportation. And transportation is very interesting because it solves several SDGs at the same time. Okay. And the best example for us now is, I would use Wheatbaker. And Wheatbaker is a project where we have boats that were, number one, manufactured locally. Okay. So first, alleviating poverty. 2, people are learning how to also make those boats. It speaks to education. So it's not just going to university to learn something. Hands-on now, vocation. Youth of that community here in Lagos are being involved in the project of making boats. Now, when we move on water en masse, it takes people off the roads. So our carbon footprint drops. That takes care of another SDG. Another SDG. And then the communities where, so it's not just the boats, it's also, we're going to build jetties in the first phase, 15 different communities along the coastlines. So imagine what happens when you upgrade the jetty in a community. So that community is also empowered. So it takes care of poverty as well. So that's one of the things. Now we have our trains. Our beautiful trains are Blue Line up and running 1 year now. Red Line about to come online. And we had the good news yesterday, the great news about Green Line also being signed up for as well. Wow. So more cars off the road, less carbon, people are less stressed. Travel time reduces. And all in all, sustainability, sustainable transport. You are moving from point A to point B without too much hassle. So for us, those are some of the examples that we have in transport that speak to the SDGs.
Okay, a few more questions.
Okay, so on the SDGs, so you only mentioned about the water side.
Yes.
What about the ones done on the roads and all?
Okay, so I mentioned water and rail, but on the road as well, we have our BRT buses. Currently, also, we have 50 electric buses in Lagos being test run. So we're moving to clean energy. And of course, federally as well, they're talking about conversion to CNG. And that's testing as well. Once that happens, we're also keen to moving people with clean energy. And the more mass transit you have, the less individual cars and the less travel time, fewer vehicles on the road.
Okay, I would like to speak on the health perspective, which is very pertinent to life and well-being of the people. And with this new syndrome of Japa and a lot of doctors leaving the country, is there anything that the government is doing, SDGs, to partner, to retain doctors? Is it the better quality of life that they clamor for that is going to go on? Or how are they going to mitigate, to meet up with the goals of SDG itself, looking at the health sector?
Fantastic. So, thank you. The doctors leaving and Japa truly is a concern. However, the states also announced, and they have been doing so, that we're establishing a new university of medical sciences. And the point of this university is to increase the number of people who would be able to study medicine, nursing, and the entire chain of medical sciences now. Because to run a hospital is not just the doctors and nurses.
Of course,
we have primary health care, community health, pharmacies, and technicians, assistants, and all that. So the plan is to, within the next few years, get up to training up to 1,000 doctors per annum.
Wow.
And then increase numbers of other health professionals thereafter. We're going to use...
Doctors that will not Japa.
Well, if
the
some
ones that will leave us
Japa,
and go.
some will remain.
Some
will remain. All you need is more. We need more people. We need more hands on deck. And truth is that those that leave also come back. They come here, they do outreaches, they come to lend their expertise here from time to time. So it's good for people to sometimes go and then bring some of these lessons back to the community. But we're not going to leave a vacuum. We start planning for more and more doctors to come to train, and we train more doctors using existing structure. So it's not something far away. We're going to use our 27 general hospitals already as centers for learning. And then we have primary healthcare centers, over 300 in Lagos, to learn community care. So that has started, and I believe that last week the Honorable Commissioner for Health was out in the public introducing this to the good people of Lagos.
Okay, so let me take us to the education and the improvement that we saw heavily in the last term. That's the first term of the governor, and there seems to be it seems like it's more quiet in this tenure. So what I mean is, during the first term of the governor, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, there was a lot being said concerning the educational improvements. We had there was a theme. There were banners everywhere talking about the educational reforms. I'm trying to remember the word. They launched an initiative.
Okay.
And I haven't seen that continuity in that educational reform. So I know that the Lagos State is putting in a lot into the ideation, but continuation is very important. Can you highlight some of the things that has continued from the first tenure of the governor into the second tenure that we can say has improved within the educational sector?
Okay, so everything you mentioned has continued. It's one administration, and it's also continuous operations. Lagos State has a development master plan, and like you mentioned in education, there was the Ikoyi program, which is what you were trying to remember. It's on. Now, let me also tell you that education is also divided into different sectors. The state is responsible for a certain area of education, primary and secondary. The local government really is responsible for primary education. And then we also have tertiary institutions that the state. I'll also tell you that our College of Education has been upgraded to University of Education.
Oh.
Same, College of Technology has been upgraded to University of Technology. We're talking about a new university. That's in education. You know, so if we're talking whether secondary, whether primary, and even tertiary, the entire line is constantly being updated, upgraded, and it's not just physical structures now, meaning the school building, but even the teachers constantly being
How about
trained?
getting more children into the classrooms?
Yes.
Before there was a time when it was really easy to get children into classroom. Right now, it is not as easy in Lagos State to get children into classroom. Case in point, you need to show your lasrera. You need to have somebody, like you must be registered, you must pay taxes within Lagos State. And we know that the majority of people on the streets who need the public education might not have access to,
or even
or have parents or sponsors who will support them to achieve that goal.
Okay, so let me say that public education in Lagos is so good that everybody accesses public education, not just those on the streets. But I understand you. However, data is important for quality. We need to know where the child's parents live.
Okay.
We need to know what they do. We need to know so many things that help the state to plan. If you don't plan, that is when you have too many children in a class. And then what happens to quality at that time? The state doesn't just ask for documentation for the sake of asking. It's for the sake of planning, for the sake of clarity. If we have every year, we know that the numbers are going up by 1,000, 2,000. Okay, where are these areas in Lagos, geographically now, where we need to focus on? If we plan to this year that we want to build 30 schools, are we going to build them across Lagos, dividing them equally? Or is there an area in Lagos where there seem to be more people? You know, so that is why you're asking for residence card. Your residence card will show you where the person lives and where we then need more focus. So,
and in terms of getting sponsorship, some of these people they do not know anybody who is working probably in a government office who has a high ranking. I hear that is also a requirement to be able to get into the public schools.
No, I categorically deny that.
Oh.
And anybody, registration as a resident is free. Everybody pays some level of tax. You know, everybody...
Direct or indirect?
Yes, you pay, and then you can have your card. It doesn't matter. What you need is to be registered to pay your tax. What you need is to register, and your residence offices are in local governments. They're nearby. It's not something that you have to move centrally. No. So register. We want to know where you live. We want to know where your children live. That's all. So that we can plan.
I get it.
Yes.
Yeah, so I was going to say that with all these obstacles in place, do you think that anybody will be willing to, the kids be willing to go to, the parents, would they be willing to make their kids go to those schools if you put all those things in place?
I don't think there are obstacles. You cannot walk off the streets in any...
Because I'm thinking like somebody that sells, like me now, let's say I sell food on the road, and of course my child needs to access this kind of, access the education or whatever. And then you come, you say, well, I must pay tax, I must have paid tax, I must have done this, I must have done that. And probably, I don't think the person that sells food on the roadside pays tax.
They do.
They do.
In Lagos,
They do.
everybody pays tax. Lagos is a tax.
They do. But look, I go back to it. It's data. It's planning.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's so much emphasis on tax card as much as your registration, your residency registration card. And there is no place where we're going to make progress without planning. If 1,000 children turn up that we had no idea they existed prior to that day, and you only have capacity for 50, the children are not going to get quality. The school is not going to be able to teach them properly. And so we go back to it and say, we don't create too many hurdles for people.
Yeah.
No, that's not the point. But the point is to be able to plan. You cannot walk off the streets in any organized place and say you want to go to school. No, no. There must be a history. There must be where did this child emerge from? That's all.
In case anything happens, so you can also trace.
Yes.
Yeah. So let's talk about gender for a bit.
Yes.
Gender equality.
Yes.
What is Lagos State doing to ensure adequate representation of women in terms of politics, in terms of education, in terms of the ministries, MDAs, and in terms of the workforce? What have you put in place so far in answering your SDG goal?
Oh, okay. So this is a favorite topic as well.
I can see.
Because we're doing very well.
Okay.
I would say, first, the civil service itself, it's almost not... There are a few more women than men. within the service itself. And for people who then complain that, oh, you have women at the lower level, even at the topmost level within the civil service, who are the permanent secretaries, it's 50-50. It's 50% men, and 50% male, 50% female. At the cabinet level, meaning the state executive now, it's about 30% as well. We need to get more women into politics, and it's challenging for women for different reasons. But there's structures within to support women who show interest. The first thing is even showing interest. I think a lot of women they find it daunting, you know, to say, okay, I'm going to put myself out there and run for political office, you know. So there are also structures within the political party to support women who turn up and say, we would like to run for political office. So politically as well, I think that we're making better strides than we have always done.
In terms of girl-child education?
Oh, girl-child education is up there in Lagos as well. We're encouraging girls to come to school. We make sure that we go into community, engage, and not just girls, even women. Women in terms of financial education now, trying to improve financial inclusivity for women. We're working with OPE, we're working with one or two other financial institutions to improve women's financial literacy.
Amazing.
Okay, that's great.
All right, we'll take a breather here. When we come back, the conversation continues. Stay with us. Thanks for staying with us. We're still talking to Dr. Oreoluwa Fini, who is the advisor for the SDGs to the governor of Lagos State. So, Tokwe had a question.
Yes, I want to go to the environment. There are many issues within our environment, but let's just talk about three. I want to talk about the fact that Lagos is largely filled with increasing number of squatters, slums, you know, this settlements that happen everywhere, under the bridge. Anywhere they can just get a shade, people live there, and it impacts on the environment. I also wanted to ask about another challenge that we face. So squatters and slums, number one. Number two, access to clean water is a major issue. There's been a lot of work on sanitation in the major areas. We see Loma's work, but when you go inside, there are many, there's need for improvement with sanitation and access to clean water. Lagos is boreholed to a fault, and it also would impact on the sea level challenges that we know we are below sea. And I'd like to have what the different MDAs are doing to address these three concerns.
Okay, thank you. So the Ministry of Environment has been very hot and in the light spotlights recently with trying to clear slums. First, Lagos is a state within a country, and you cannot keep anybody out. What you want to do is to encourage only people who have definite things that they're coming to do here. It poses, there's no sustainable city that will be overwhelmed by informal housing, as it is called. You know, we move away from calling them slums to informal housing.
Okay.
Yes.
Better understood.
UN speak now. So informal housing. So what they have done, because of some of the issues, even the quality of life of those who live in those places is not the best, is to continue to clear them and to encourage only people who have truly something to do here to be in Lagos. Water. Now, rightly, Lagos pipe-borne water has been a challenge for Lagos for the simple reason that production of water is very expensive. It's an expensive project. I believe that Lagos requires 400 million cubic meters of water per day, the city of Lagos requirements. But right now, we're only generating 125.
Wow. Way less.
Yes. So comes to SDG 17, Partnership for the Goals. So what we would like is to see more people come to play within that space and say, okay, we're interested in whether it's the water treatment or it's the metering or it's some aspect of that providing of clean water. We've had a few people coming, but you see, it's such a big thing that not many people are able to handle. But there already more and more mini water treatment plants are coming up. Yes, are coming up. More and more We have about 4 coming up this year, some on the island, some on nearer to Iju as well. And that will improve production. But we still need more people to come in from the private sector. Lagos has a history of good public and private partnership
relationship.
Yes, so we call on them, SDG 17, to partner with us to provide clean water for Lagosians as a business. So that's it. And then the third question, related to the water, you know, and then drilling of boreholes. So the more people have pipe-bomb water, the less we'll drill the boreholes. And then, of course, our sea level then stabilizes.
Okay, I want to talk about the decent work and economic growth.
Yes.
Looking at Nigeria as a whole, I'm not limiting to Lagos State, and seeing how a lot of women come out to complain that they do not have enough decent work environment. I mean, something happened yesterday. I went to one of our, my business partner's office, and a friend of mine was actually talking about how our innerwear was getting uncomfortable. And I remember that I was just cautioning her to think about the man who was at the reception desk, like you were just saying it. And abruptly, the man just said, "But do you think I'm not enjoying the conversation?" In quotes, he sent me a signal like, "Esther, you're not even supposed to be here," because you're already transmitting what she has said in another light. So looking at women who complain about sexual harassment, especially from their superiors, and I think very recently in Nigeria, in the federal corridor, we had somebody call out their ogas, and we've not really heard anything about what happened next.
Afterwards.
So how are these work environments safe against sexual harassment for both even women and men? Because I know men are also sexually harassed.
Thank you. One of the topics in the summit we're having on Thursday next week is the workplace. What we've realized is that in concerning ESG, that is the practices within the private sector, people have all their various focus areas. We need to align them to what you've just spoken about. It's not just to say that this organization or this office does certain things. We're not saying that it's not good to plant trees. We're also not saying that it's not good to give out things to the less needy. We're saying we should, as a state now, align our vision for sustainable and a good workplace, a decent workplace. For everybody concerned, whether it's the wages, whether it's the terms of employment, whether there are gender issues, that we address. And of course, I'm sure you know that Lagos State has a very vibrant domestic and sexual violence agency that deals with a lot of these matters. And that agency continues to be empowered to deliver. They just, last year, they got 10 convictions. You know, and more and more and more. When people are arrested, they let us know any issues that are brought. You know, this is moving beyond just workplace and having, and it's not just women who face challenges in the workplace. Even men. You know, there are issues. So our second panel at the summit will be addressing workplace, economically, and all the other issues that people face there to try and find a solution and let both public and private sector know that these are the policies that we would align on.
So talking about...
so we're saying, so about the security challenge in Lagos. Let's talk about the security challenge in Lagos. Because as we all know, recently there's this kidnapping issue. We have the kidnapping, we have the robbery, traffic robbery, we have cyber crime, and all of those things. So what are the measures that you have put in place to at least, even if it's just to improve or to, you know, reduce these things from happening in the society in Lagos State?
So Lagos is relatively safe. Let me start from there. But it doesn't mean that we should not address challenges or concerns. The first thing is Lagos State has a security trust fund where, like SDG 17 partnership, you can't do it alone. The state is not in charge of the police. However, the state is in charge of security. You know, it's like a dichotomy. But because Lagos recognizes that we must work together with the police and other law enforcement agencies to provide security, we have a trust fund that equips and makes sure that the police have the right things that they need to use to secure. However, let me say, there is really you cannot secure any place without community involvement.
Absolutely.
Community must be involved. So we have our Lagos State neighborhood watch. They are in the community. They are providing information. They are securing where they are at grassroots level. And they're working hand in hand with the police. And also, Lagos also has a good information network. Wherever there are black spots, hot spots, we zoom light into those places and make sure that, okay, more security is provided. Then let's move to jobs, because sometimes people give the excuse that because they're unemployed, that is why they've turned to crime and all those things. We have our employment trust fund as well. We have our agency dedicated completely to making sure that people are trained and ready for workforce. We have all sorts of things going on with our ministries, whether Women Affairs and Poverty Alleviation, where women now are trained different skills. Skills acquisition centers in Lagos as well are there. So it's not just to prevent, to go into the streets and with weapons or force, but it's to even prevent crime from happening in the first place by making sure that people are skilled enough to have alternatives. Yes, they don't have to turn to crime, you know, so...
So I know you have a question about the summit, but we'll take it last. Yes. Let me talk about tourism for a minute. We like to travel, we go to places, and we see nothing really different from what we have in our country most of the time. And I'm wondering, what have you done so far in terms of attracting people to come here? And also in terms of positioning the facilities for tourism that we have here so that more people can come? And, you know, just there's a way you brand it and make it exciting and do videos and post it and attract people to Lagos, Nigeria. What are you doing in that regard?
Okay, so we're doing a lot of that. And tourism is so massive that it requires back to SDG 17 partnership. That anchors everything. For Lagos, we'll start with, and linked to youth, linked to a lot of things, some of the training. Youth are being trained in all the creative arts. You know, we have 2-3 different organizations who train youth in partnership with Lagos State in some of these things. We're going to very shortly launch an events calendar. So that way, you know, if you open, let's take the UK for example. Today, you know next year all the tourism,
all the carnivals that would happen.
Everything. So you can plan a year ahead. And you know when you plan, it's cheaper. You're encouraged to come. So our Ojude-Oba, although those are not Lagos based, but they're federal, you know. For Lagos based, our AO. For Lagos, our water...
so it will be opened up to the public to come and see?
Oh, yes.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yes.
That would be massive.
AO is not a masquerade for in-house. It's going to go from street to street.
Yeah, but they tell us to hide now.
No, not for AO. I think you're mixing it with Oru.
Oro, yes. The Oro Festival, I know that they tell you to don't come out.
Yes, with Oro.
So, but Eyo, people can come.
It's a thing of beauty to behold. And yes, so you will. You will, and hopefully before the end of the year as well. So we're coming up with a calendar as well in Lagos for all the various festivals. And I think when the calendar then comes out, you then know some new things will then, you know, come up. Things that you don't know, because a lot of some of our festivals as well occur locally within their own vicinity, meaning Ikoyi has its own festivals, Badagry has its own festivals. There is really no festival that cuts across the whole of Lagos. Even Eyo is strictly on the island, you know, so
you merge it in the calendar now.
So you know everywhere. And then even places of interest. Our J. Randall Museum for Yoruba Culture is there. We have our point of no return in Badagry with the Slavery Museum. We have the first buildings, first story building in Badagry as well, and various places of monuments. The
shrine, they also have a museum there.
Yes.
What's the name of that? Is it Kalakuta Museum now?
Yes, that's there. And then look at what has happened with the National Theatre. Isn't that beautiful? You know, so that's one extra thing for us to see and to do in Lagos. So tourism is massive, and we're also looking for investments in the tourism sector as well. You know, for people to come in and invest. There's a lot. Lagos
We have our celebration.
Yes, that's what I mentioned.
Yes, we have our celebration.
Yes. It will be in the calendar as well.
Yes, it will be there. It will be there. Look at Wida Books that also does the Ake Book Festival. There's a lot.
The Lagos International Trade Fair, which happens every year.
Every year. So we're coming up with and that calendar will help. It will really help for those here and for those in the diaspora. Like they plan to come home for December and all the concerts.
There are a lot of activities.
It's not only December.
So we now don't want it to be just December. We want everybody to come home year round. Yes. Let people be boosted year round. And it's not just, when tourism happens, everybody, the entire community benefits from it.
Sure.
It's a boost to hotels. It's a boost to the people selling locally as well. Our artists get to sell more of these things that we're wearing now, So
Dami, your question?
Okay, my question basically is on if we're talking about tourism, and I think there's an inculcation of security.
Yes.
Because quite a few people that I have seen that we have marketed Lagos to or projected Nigeria to, especially foreigners, the first thing is that security. And it's good that you're also mentioning that the Lagos State's architecture for security is really robust now and they are going into dark spots. But adequately, what measures of security would be available to people who had never even been to Lagos ever in their lifetime? I've heard somebody say, the moment you're hiring a private bouncer, it's like you're putting eyes on you and people begin to notice that probably you're a person of notable figure, you have money, to also dissuade kidnappers from putting their eyes on you. So is there any plan to mitigate and let foreigners actually be invested in coming to Nigeria or Lagos State particularly?
Lagos is safe for business. Lagos is safe for tourism. Lagos is safe for visitors. And every year, we welcome visitors, especially towards the end of the year. And we rarely hear of those kind of events. But what I would say is this. What we need to do is to give you a link to who we can come to say, once we have the diary, there'll be a link there to say, we're coming to Lagos. And they can hold your hand and lead you safely how to chart Lagos.
Yeah.
Yes.
Amazing. So the summit you talked about, we have to go. Summit you talked about, when is the summit? How do we get involved?
Okay, so the Lagos Sustainability Summit is next week, Thursday at 10 a.m. at Ikoyi Hotel and Suites. Registration is at lagossustainabilitysummit.com and you send you a link. We look forward to everybody coming in, participating, and that together we can then chart a sustainable policy for Lagos.
Is it free?
Amazing.
Free.
Free.
Yeah.
Yes,
Wow.
free.
Is there lunch? Is there breakfast? Is there?
There is breakfast and lunch.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
We've been speaking with Dr. Oreoluwa, who is the special advisor to the governor of Lagos State on the sustainable development goals. Thank you so much for being with us, Ma.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you have enlightened us about what Lagos is doing and all.